Okay, let's draw for today. Let's take this full screen. If you remember, we were working kind of like on the back of the hangar bay here. And let's open up. This is to kind of, again, show you the whole comparison between the original Constitution class and the Dreadnaught hull, which is much bigger. Let's see, let's deselect this. And let's go to C. Okay, so we worked on that back part. What I want to do today, I think, is we're going to come in here and we're going to come to Z, and we're going to select these, Z, and we're going to try to shape this thing a little bit. We're going to extrude it to the X, going to bring it out about here. And deselect. We're going to Z it again. We're going to box grab it. And we're going to, the picture in the Dreadnaught and the picture in the Constitution doesn't match exactly. That's kind of actually a good thing. We're going to grab that. We're going to grab it to the X. We're going to bring it back closer to here. And let's box this. Let's grab it to the X. Let's bring it back a little bit. Let's grab this one. Let's grab it to the X. No, let's, yeah, there we go. Let's box these and grab these. The X. There for now. Let's see it. Let's look at that. See what kind of what it looks like. Now, again, what we might need to do. Let's see what it looks like in object mode. And it looks a little bit rough because those lines are so big. Let's go to edit mode right quick. Okay. And let's put, let's see, we're going to save this time. We're going to save this as 6. It's already in 6 because I switched it over. Okay, we're going to control R right there. Left click A. And we're going to to face mode. We're going to select this lip, shift this lip, shift this lip, and we're going to put a face there. So that when we look at the side of the ship, we actually have. And then we're going to come around here and do the same thing. Control R. Whoopsie. There we go. Oops. Left click. Oh, yeah. Okay, zoom it in a little bit so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, select that surface and that one and put a face. Okay, now what I was starting to say, some of the things we could do here is I don't really want to put loop cuts across this whole ship because it puts a bunch of vertices in here. So we either have to leave it basically like this. Let's see, 7. And from some of the pictures I've been looking at, let's go to there, and let's go into, I don't want pictures in DX, I want pictures in the computer. I've actually been looking at some pictures of, this is the original series, and how, kind of how they set this area up here. And you can see the inner walls and bulkheads and stuff like that, and the interior and outer windows. So this might actually take a little bit of, that's an original, basically an original Dreadnaught rendering. A couple more, but I've been looking at some different, that's actually the refit. This is something that was interesting. This is supposed to be kind of like the Enterprise modified into a Dreadnought. You notice on the saucer section they invert the angle, so the angle's no longer kind of like an upward bow. It's kind of like a downward bow. And here's some sketchings of the original and the refit, how the size different and stuff like that. But anyway, I was looking at some pictures here of how these corridors were drawn into the original. I actually have some sketchings. One of the things I have a little bit of heartburn with, I noticed, I kind of like the way they put the control rooms and the observation lounge kind of things. See, and this says pocket to scaling ladders. In the original series, they had them walking in these hallways right parallel to the hangar deck. On almost all their scenes, they had them. In fact, they had a door, if I remember right, it seemed like they could open the door and walk out to the shuttle. And they got a nice door area and doors here to come into the hangar bay from the back. but they kind of had these little hallway things to the side, but these hallway things didn't go, you couldn't walk up the side of the ship. It's almost like they had pockets there, you had to climb down to the deck below and stuff like that. So, and I think part of that was a result of kind of like designing it after the fact. It's like they designed the ship, then they designed the hangar bay, and then they started fitting it into the ship. And you can kind of see the doorways here, and then the door in the back. So some of it made sense, but some of it's just kind of like they kind of had to cram it in there. And I didn't like the idea that I thought they should actually have those corridors kind of going the length of the ship. Now here's a good shot. This is actually shows the turntable, which was a circle, but it was a big square here. The whole floor came down as a square where they could store the ships right below it. This is like from the original series. So, and this is an upper shot of it, kind of a good upper shot of it. And you can see the cargo bay doors back there, and then the back doors and stuff like that. So it gives me kind of an idea. Yeah, here's a good shot again. It shows kind of like the thickness and the extra walls and the little. They got this little room up top here, but they don't really. That room doesn't really have any logical place to connect it. In a sense, it's there. You can see the shape. This is kind of like a paper model, I think, that somebody did. Looks pretty awesome. It gives you kind of an idea of the scale of the hangar bay. Here's a shot. They show this guy in this little room above the hangar bay doors, and he's got this big control panel, and then you can see like off to behind it, it looks like there's control panels for like 40 feet back there, but this little bubble isn't that big. And even if this was a room made this way, they should have like an access to it. There's no really access to it. This gives you a good idea, kind of the thickness of the outer hull here, which is interesting. And here again. Now in this shot, and the way they show this, it looks like they're like those corridors onto the sides could feasibly, because I think this is more of a shot from, this isn't from the back of the ship, this is from inside the ship. And so this looks logical with you have the hallways where you could literally walk into the bigger part. You wouldn't have to crawl down into the next deck down to go anywhere. You could actually walk. Your upper observation lounge would hook to a deck, and then your lower corridors to like in the original series when they showed them open, and they showed the shuttle bay like landing and the doors shutting, and they'd pressurize the hull. So this would probably be somewhat useful, this drawing here. Okay, and I'm getting into stuff. I've seen a couple models and stuff. This is like an actual, kind of like a shot of original engineering from the original series and stuff like that. And anyway, I've seen here's a kind of a good scale where it's showing the inner bulkhead workings and stuff like that. So there's a few things to use for reference. I got some more Thunder stuff. Let's go back into Blender. Let's go back. Did I have two blenders open? Oh, I guess I do. Anyways, so I'm going to work on maybe shaping this hole a little bit, and or drawing, basically putting in some inner walls, especially since this hull is so much bigger than the Constitution class. We have a lot of room to actually draw in. We actually have some room to draw in some stuff here to make make some thickness. Which I'm not really sure if I even really want to get caught up into this at the moment as far as doing the interior. I might just basically, let's see, hit Z. So we could maybe, what I was kind of wanting to do is curve this, but to curve this I got to loop cut it, and I really don't want to loop cut the length of the hull, which, let's see, what are we we're on 639 vertices. That's not so bad, but we're just on the secondary hull here. There's going to be a lot more when we do the saucer and the pylons and the engines and so on and so forth, especially everywhere we have to add detail. So there's kind of, like I said, there's kind of some tricks to this. See, if we went, if we go to face mode, and let's see, we probably don't need a loop cut here, but if I go, let's see, let's select this one, and this one, and this one, and let's delete those. Faces only, and then we're going to do the three. These are actually the three on the other side since I had it shaded. Let's delete them. Only faces. Okay, so we just cut a big hole in the side of this ship. But if you notice, we left the lines here. So what I'm wanting to accomplish with that is we're going to put, actually let's go to, except for if I go to Z, I think it'll, okay, let's try this. Let's put a loop cut here, and let's put a loop cut here, Control R. See, and this allows me to loop cut this, and I rolled the mouse wheel to get 2 loop cuts there. Okay. And let's put loop cut here. Let's see. No, I don't want to do that. Oh, there we go. Drag it to the side a little bit. And left click twice. Okay, so see, what I did. I'll push it again. I actually put loop cuts in there, and they don't run the length of the ship, and that's what I wanted. So I don't have all those extra vertices all the way the length of the hull of this hull. And actually, I think I'm gonna change my mind a little bit. I'm gonna go Control R right here. Interesting. Okay, so now what we can do is box this, grab it to the X, just a little bit there, and I think I got double lines. Oh no, maybe not. Yeah, I got double lines somewhere. I don't know. I know why. Because it loop cut it on one side, it didn't loop cut on the other. So that's Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Ah! It only loop cut it on one side. It should have loop cut all the way through. I wonder why it didn't do that. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. Okay, so let's try this again. Let's go like this. Let's Control R. Let's see, we just want, I think, one here. That's fine. And then we need to, I need to do this at an angle because it's only doing the one. So Control R. Same thing. There we go. And then Control R. We wanted to split that into two. A. Left click A. Okay. Control R. It's because they're separated. It makes sense, but usually you can reach through and do stuff. Okay. And we'll Control R. Split it in two. Left click again. Deselect with A. Control R here. Split it. Left click again. Push A. And we wanted one at the bottom. Control R. Oh, no, we don't want that one. Because that one goes the length of the ship. So we can just deselect it. Or right click. Okay. Now let's push one. And if we do want to, we can do the same thing. We go Z. And we can go to face mode. We can select. We can delete. Only face. Select. Delete. Only face. Okay, let's go back to dots where I see. Okay, Control R. Left click again, A, and then again angle. Oh, and that would actually put it in the back. That's interesting. Okay, Control R. Left click, A. Okay, now that we have all of these nice little loop cuts in the end here, we can again box, and we can grab it to the X just a little bit. Actually, we can make that nice and pretty straight up and down. That point, A, and we can bring this down, see what we're looking at here. Box this one, grab these two, grab it to the X, bring it back a little bit. A, box the next one, grab it to the X, and if we need to, you can always come back, grab the X, because the idea is you want to kind of get a smooth line here. Box it. And then it makes more of a curve. Grab X. Instead of having line, like 5 lines, trying to make a curve out of 5 lines, you can make a curve more like out of 10. And looks like this one's a little bit. Let's put a little bit more. There we go. A little bit more to the back. And still, if we don't like it, we can always grab an X a little bit more. Let's grab this one. Grab an X a little bit more. Okay. Kind of like where the curve's going here. Box this one. Grab an X. Give it a little bit. Grab this one. Grab an X. Okay. And to the eyeball, it almost looks like a straight line. Let's see. Let's box this one. And let's grab it to the X, bring it just a hair out. Okay, now let's see it. Now to me, it looks a little bit, and I think what I actually want to do here, that's the Connie, but if we hit the Z, that's more the Dreadnaught there. Which, again, since it's such a bigger hull, it's going to be. Let's grab these. See. Let's grab these to the X. Let's bring them out just a little bit more. Not too much, about like that. Now let's look at this in the object mode, which you'll get a kick out of this because we got a big hole in our ship. But you can see that the lines are still there, the main lines. So the nice thing about that is that we go back to edit mode. When we go into lines, what we can do is if we select, because we didn't change the curve, we only curved from top and bottom. We didn't change the dimensions of the bulkheads here. As far as straight front and back, we didn't change the dimensions. In fact, if anything, we drug it perfectly straight out. So, yeah, so what we can do here is we can actually, I'm going to come from the back side first. And then I'm going to shorten this up and call it a day, even though it's kind of short video. And like I said, I get a little long-winded. Okay, so we're going to select this line. And then we're going to shift. Like I said, you could basically just select 3 of these. But if you go ahead and select, you can select 3. But if you select I like kind of selecting all the lines just to make sure it's grabbing everything. End up having a seam rip. I call it a seam rip. Like if it doesn't attach somewhere, you got a face and it's like it's not attached to the other part. Face, A. And we're going to basically put these faces back in here. So now if we, again, select, shift, select, hold shift while you click on these lines. Face, A, and we're just kind of like welding the plates back into the ship here. Now see, here's where you gotta be careful because you could grab that line, so you might want to shift the view so you don't have a line like this. You don't have a line where you're going to click on your line, because then you end up clicking, like you could accidentally click this one back here, and that's where you got to be careful. Or this one, you could be trying to click the up and down one and end up clicking this one back on the wall here. Deselect. Okay, so that's something you got to pay attention to. So when you're clicking these, you make sure you're clicking the lines that you want to click and not the ones in the back. And sometimes if you're drawing a lot on this stuff can get real. You get tired, you're moving along, and then you save it, and then you end up having some weird geometry stretching across. That's why I move this around a little bit too, make sure I don't have no weird walls or connecting points running to each other. Okay, let's select this one, shift this one, this one, this one, and this one, and hit F. A. Okay, so we put our ship back together. And like I said, I got all the little loop cuts on the end there where I need them, but I don't have them running the whole length of the hull, because I've seen, especially, like I don't consider myself an expert, or even, I consider myself basically intermediate to advanced, but I don't consider, there's a lot of stuff about Blender I don't know. And then sometimes when I learn stuff, I even sit there and go, oh, it just seemed like maybe it wasn't obvious, but it just seems so simple once I learn it. You know, but it's like anything else. It's like learning martial arts or typing or welding or painting or just there's, you know, you might not never know it all, but if you know 90% of it, and if you know 100, darn near 100% of what you use, because some of it you might not even need. You know, if I don't do any animations in this, then I don't need to know how to animate. But knowing how to animate might actually show me something to know how to draw better. But if I know everything I need to do for my drawing, then I'm you know, basically happy with it. Actually, I do want to learn like some of the animation stuff, face, and or like I said, so we can you know, I know how to make this basic model. I was explaining this to Mr. Foley. We were having a discussion about the shape of this ship because we've got some ideas about maybe how to modify the engine design on this. We're not really 100%, and let me finish these up, and because I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. Because the hardest thing, or I shouldn't really use the word hard, but the most difficult thing, or the most time-consuming thing on this project here is going to be basically I'm going to make this hole and the hole for the other variant of this. And there we go, we got the faces in. So let's go to, let's pose this right here like this. Actually, let's pose it from the side. Let's go to object mode. I don't really like to save in edit mode, even though you can. It's not really a problem, but I like to bring it into object mode and either leave the outline so it's already selected, or sometimes turn it off. And I usually like to go to full screen. And then save it as. We're going to save that as 6, which is fine. Okay, and I'm going to come to top view, which we were looking at the engines on this, and I forget the gentleman's name that actually drew this and more or less designed this. And we were talking about the design concept of it and stuff, and I was telling him it makes sense that because the engineering in this ship, especially in this hull here, engineering is below the hangar deck. The hangar deck is such a main deck on this thing, and you kind of have this midsection in here. But this whole deck is pretty much it's pretty much devoted to shuttles, so that this ship could carry multiple shuttles, maybe land multiple troops on a planet or something like that, because it's more of a battleship. It's not really a research vessel. But I think you could raise these engine support pylons up higher into the hull, and maybe angle them, maybe have them grab in the middle of the engines. I think the engines could be either angled up, angled down. I'm not sure. I would like to play around with it just to see if you could get what I consider more of an aesthetic view, and you know, but I'm not trying to. I guess in a way I am kind of trying to redesign the ship, but I don't really want to redesign the ship. I'm not trying to I don't want to take the concept and steal it, or just totally change it to where this is a totally different ship. But like we kind of voted on the this undercut instead of leaving it like the original Dreadnought, because the original Dreadnought hull kind of looks like a giant flashlight. It just lacks a lot of shape. It's just kind of a big tube, and you know, and they might have even in real life, I've seen where they've did ship things and stuff on real naval vessels, and sometimes things are just big round tubes, but they usually start putting in shape for hydrodynamic, you know, physics and stuff like that. But you know, so we're kind of playing around and bouncing this around. But like I said, I don't want to just totally like take somebody's idea and say, oh, I don't like that, so let's just totally redesign it. You know, because if we're going to do that, then then I could just sit down and draw my own ship and say, hey, this is a fan ship or whatever, and this is my idea. And you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not really wanting to do that. I'm just wanting to bounce some ideas around and see if you know, if me and Mr. Foley and the he, like, again, I don't remember the name, but he was telling me the name. You know, there's about there's the guy that more or less took this concept of the Dreadnought and modified it into this ship, and it's a dang good idea. I think it looks way better than the original Dreadnought design, even, and because even in the original series, the Dreadnought design was kind of, they took the Enterprise and put an extra engine on it, and then they said, well, it was supposed to be a battleship, so they enlarged it up, and to just kind of change things around, they put the shuttle bay on the front, they put the main sensor on the back, I think just so that it didn't scream Constitution class modified. They actually wanted it to be a different ship, and they wanted it to be a bigger ship. I think the primary hull, the saucer, actually had 3 decks in this main area instead of 2. But I agree with Mr. Foley. I don't like that saucer. It just looks too much like a flying saucer. It kind of lacks character. It has size, but it lacks character. So we're just kind of loosely bouncing around the ideas about what could we do with what could we do with these engines, maybe to make it look different, or I don't really use it with better, but in a sense, yeah, better. It's like, I think we could raise these engines up and we could angle these pylons and have them grabbing from the middle, and especially on this wide body. Part of the backstory, he was telling me the backstory on this wide body is that they were designing this ship and the other variant, which is more, the hull is more, the secondary hull is more normal. It has a shuttle bay in the front, shuttle bay in the back, and actually pretty soon, because like I was explaining to him, I think this is going to be the hardest thing to draw, or the most difficult, or the most time consuming, especially because I'm going to be putting in the hangar bay and actually drawing in inner bulkheads, so that when you look at this, and putting in the pivot points so you can actually open the doors and shut the doors, because I've seen how to do that in Blender, where I can actually, we'll put in these hangar bay doors and we can open them and stuff and look inside and see the little control towers and shuttle. We'll put a shuttle in there and stuff like that. So this thing's going to take a while to do these hulls. Once we get these hulls done, the engines, they got detail on them, but there's no doors that open up where you're looking at them. The saucer's the same way. The saucer will have a lot of detail, and but detail in the sense of lines and grids, some of that kind of stuff. But I don't think it's going to be that bad. It's pretty symmetrical, and other than drawing, basically putting some window locations on it, it's not the whole hardest part of this project is going to be doing this hull, and like I said, because I'm doing the inner base. There's a lot of detail that's going to be going into this hull. I get this hull and the other hull. I'm probably going to draw this hull and then draw the next hull, and actually have some screens where I have them side by side for comparison and whatnot, and then I'll actually more or less have the 2 separate files of this 2 separate ships. But they have the same saucer, they have the same engines. They might have, I'm saying might, and most probably are going to have a slightly different pylon design with the engine and stuff, and or maybe not, but we'll see how that works out. But like I said, for the most part, I get this secondary hull nailed down and get it really detailed and get the innards in it, and the little control functions where you can open the doors and stuff like that, and see the shuttle inside and that kind of stuff, then I'll be real happy with this. And then, like I said, the rest of it, drawing the neck for this thing again. And then when I go to UV map this, when I start UV mapping this, and because a lot of details of the ship, the little some of the markings and that kind of stuff, that's, and the texturing and painting it, that some of that can be a little bit time consuming, but it can just be done with the UV map. There's a lot of stuff that can be done with the UV map that is going to make it, by the time it's said and done, we're going to not have this gray model of a ship. We're going to end up having this ship that has the various kind of white and gray and I don't know if he wants to go with the duck egg blue. A lot of people don't know this. The actual original Enterprise from the series was kind of a duck egg blue, and even the filming model, and they filmed it like that. But when it came out on color TV in the 60s and 70s, it didn't look that way. It looked like it was white, and almost any model you had bought of the thing was like a white color. I had actually bought a model one time of the one of the original Enterprise models, and it was modeled in like a duck egg blue. And I, it's, I was about 15, 16 at that point in time. I kind of laughed. I thought it was a like a mismold. I was like, oh, cool. I should have kept the thing. It probably would have been worth a lot of money now, you know, because every one I had ever bought, they were modeled in white. The actual styrene plastic was white. And I had got this one, and it was this weird blue color, and I was like, okay. And then years later, I find out that the actual filming model was like a bluish color, but it just never translated that way on to the color screen. It always looked more white. Anyway, I'm getting long-winded, and I got stuff to do today, but I'm glad I got this kind of clipped out. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. Sorry I get a little too talkative on stuff. I hope it's interesting to you. Please keep following along, and I will see you in the next episode.